So the training schedule, how do we train them? It's a similar schedule to the preppers and shippers. So essentially we are with the employees for 2 weeks and we are gone for 2 weeks. That's the same setup. However, so the first week we are there with them shopping together for 100% of the time. So we're walking through how to shop from the list, or if you're having them find new products, how to find new products. And we are together in the aisles the whole time, making those buying decisions or finding the products and putting them in the cart and showing them how to add them to the buy list and allow us to track them for shipments. Now, you can use the Keep a document that was posted in the group and give that to them. If they're finding new replens for you, then that's important. If they aren't finding new replens for you, then there's no need to do that. Our second week, we are there at the store with them, but we shop separately. So we split up. And so that allows them to get some sense of independence, but also allows for us to kind of, be there to help them as things, come up. So if they're finding new replens, then that also allows you to double how many new replens you can find. If they're just shopping from a list, then you can do it 2 times as fast because you'll be in different parts of the store. The third week, allow them to source by themselves, but make sure that you will be immediately available for questions. So don't go to some meeting or don't do other things where you can't be easily accessed. Again, you want to get them used to, but you also want to make sure you can answer their questions. And then really, the fourth week, hopefully there's very limited questions at this point, so you don't need to be immediately available. There shouldn't be many urgent things that come up in that fourth week that haven't already happened. So most likely you can be doing other things and not be immediately available in that fourth week, but still be there for questions, if they have any. So yeah, give them more trust to do things right. Don't make them dependent on you being there all the time. And then lastly, expect them to be about 80% as good as you when they're starting by themselves. Eventually they'll get to, 90% as good as you. I don't think they'll ever hit the point where they're as good of a shopper as you, but it's, there might be that point with some shoppers that just really get it and love it. But just have that expectation that there will be mistakes that happen. They might buy the wrong product. Maybe they don't check an expiration date. That happens. And just know that that's going to happen, but it's still ultimately going to be better for your business to have a shopper than to have you doing everything. So how do you make a shopping list for these shoppers? If you're having them do a shopping list, then you need to know how to do that. And I also suggest this for you. If you don't have shoppers yet and you're doing all the shopping yourself, start making the shopping list because that will help you be able to go pick up the replens that you need. So use the replen tracker that I had posted a couple weeks ago in the webinar to see how many you need based on sales data. So if you're tracking that information, it makes it really easy to figure out what you need to buy that week. So you will want to create a new Google Sheet with the exact information, but that is shareable. So you can just put the items that you need. So your replen tracker will have items that you might not need to buy that week. It'll have items that you definitely don't need to buy that week. And so you're going to want to move the ones that you do need to buy over to a sheet that can look exactly the same, that essentially is just your buy list for that week. And it's going to have, the ASIN, the product name, the Amazon link if possible, cost, how many you need to buy. Again, you can essentially copy the information from your replen tracker over to that new sheet for you to be able to shop from. And it's important also with your shoppers so they know exactly what they're going for. Also, you can include the store. So for us, we usually actually have different ones for a store because we can track our replens better in a store versus having a whole sheet of 5 or 6 different stores. But if you do have a whole sheet, make sure you include the store name so they can filter out that data if it's Walmart, Target, Walgreens, whatever that might be. And then lastly, if it's helpful to you and or to the shopper, you can include the category. So we do have a shopper that likes to have the category in there for grocery, health and beauty, toys, home. That way they can just go to the store, go to grocery, and look at the grocery items they need to get. Then they can filter it by health and beauty and go to that section. So that's also something you can put in there if you want. It's not necessary, but it's helpful. So the Google Sheet, the reason we use that is because it allows multiple shoppers to use that sheet at the same time. So it's easy to share it between people. Every shopper can have it up on their phone, and if you need 10 of one product and shopper A finds 5, it can be immediately updated, and shopper B can see there's only 5 that are left that need to be bought. So that's why we like to use a Google Sheet instead of an Excel list or something like that. So that's why it's helpful and useful. And then the ASIN in that sheet is going to be used for the shopper to make a buy list, either in Scoutify or Legendary Sourcing. So we talked last week, and I believe the week before, about needing one of those apps to make a buy list for your prepping and shipping process. They're going to be able to take that ASIN, put it into that app, and then essentially put how many they bought, so that the buy list and the prepping and shipping is more seamless versus them dropping off a bunch of stuff and everybody's still trying to figure out what was purchased and what needs to be shipped. So we do this based off of experience. So it might take a little bit of extra time for your shoppers to get used to it and to do this, but it is well worth saving yourself the headache if they don't do this and you have to figure out what goes into the shipment. So our shopping process. So have them use a buy list for new replens and if they're shopping from the list as well. So, if they're just shopping from the list, they need to use a buy list. If they're finding new replens, then they also need to use a buy list for that. When you make the shopping list that week, include the ASINs so they can put it into a buy list to be uploaded for prep and ship. We just talked about it, and that's why it's important. Make sure the ASIN is in there for them. When you're done, have them input their time and the amount spent into that tracking sheet that we just showed you. When they get to the warehouse, they're going to drop off the items into the correct spot for that shipment. And you're going to tell them what shipment those items are going to go into so they know exactly where that goes. And again, we talked last week about having different batches open. So that's why having multiple spots, you're going to have to tell them exactly where to drop that off. Then either the shopper or yourself will send the buy list to the warehouse, and that warehouse employee is going to upload and add those merchant SKUs to the buy list so that you can have your custom merchant SKUs if you like to do that. Then you're going to have the employees scan receipts, so the receipts from wherever they were purchasing, into your system. And so the system, there are a couple different places, and I'll talk about that. And then they're going to also leave those physical receipts in a folder for you to pick up so you can file them wherever you want. So we keep that folder of all of our receipts at home. If you'd rather have all the receipts at the warehouse, then you can technically have them file them for you there. But how do we scan the receipts into the system? So essentially, we use a Neat scanner, and it has a cloud application that it scans the receipts into their cloud system. And the reason we like it is it allows us to search by product name or UPC if it's on the receipt, if we need that receipt in the future. So we can just search AIM toothpaste or just AIM, and it'll pull up all the receipts that have that word on them. And so it's very useful, especially if you ever get anything where Amazon needs a receipt, or if you have to return a product and you don't know where it's from, then you can use that. So that's why we like it. If you don't want to pay for the cloud service and all of that, it's pretty, I think it's like $15 or $20 a month for that. If you don't want to pay for that, then you can store in Google Drive or Evernote. And the way that you would store it is by date and the store that you purchased it from for easy access in the future. That way you can have at least a filing system electronically for those receipts for you to access later. So you will need a scanner for that as well.